Hey everyone. We here at like 500 Stones and the video store wanted to dedicate this episode to Taylor Hawkins, who unfortunately passed away recently. For those of you who don't know, Taylor Hawkins was the drummer for Foo Fighters. We've talked about them on the show before, and both Brooklyn and I have a whole lot of respect for the band. So we wanted to say our piece, and we wanted to. Odds are they probably won't hear this, but we wish all of his friends and family nothing but love, and we send them our best wishes. Brooklyn, you want to say anything before?
Yeah, no. Taylor Hawkins has a big impact in music in general. So like before Foo Fighters, he was touring with Alanis Morissette, and is really impacted her sound. If you look at like You Want to Know as well, like you would swear that that's Taylor Hawkins in the back, but yeah, I'm still kind of still kind of in shock over it all. Like if you follow the Foo Fighters, this happened while they were on tour. They're in Colombia, or they were Colombia, I believe, when this all happened. Um, so right now, I'm just kind of in a state of like, what's going to happen with this tour? Just because I know myself, like I'm supposed to see them in Montreal later this year, but I don't know if that's going to be happening yet. So, but yeah, it's getting a drummer to replace Dave was always going to be a tough sell, and I think Taylor was one of the only people that could do it because he was one of the only people that could match Dave's energy. Because I think that's what they were looking for in particular. Obviously, like with him passing, there's a lot of going back and listening to his songs. If there's any that I can kind of like curate and really recommend if people want to like really check out his work, he did a lot of work in Your Honor. The double album that they did was more acoustic. He leads a track on there called "Cold Day in the Sun," which I think is a really fitting one. He has one on Arrows called "Sunday Rain," which is really good. And then I would really recommend just checking out their last record, "Medicine at Midnight." That go As cheesy as it is, go watch Studio 666 because you get a bit of a sense of what he was like and kind of the rapport that the band had. And then kind of surprisingly as well, because it's really weird too, because the day before he passed away, the Dream Widow record came out, which is kind of like a Foo Fighters interpretation of like black metal and a couple other like black metal and thrash metal and stuff. I understand that it isn't everybody's cup of tea, but in terms of technical prowess, I think that's one you should check out if you wanna see what Taylor's capable of as a drummer. I read it in a report a couple days ago, and that drummers, especially when they're preparing for these kind of tours, it's more so like a marathon because it's such high energy, especially when you're playing all of those songs and like they have so many great hits in that sense. I can't imagine what Dave and the rest of the band are going through. Dave having lost his frontman with Nirvana, and now losing his drummer, but still two key members. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a drumming documentary I saw on Netflix that he was a part of, and he just seemed like a really wonderful person, very passionate about his craft. So rest in peace, Taylor. To you, we raise our lighters in remembrance. There we go.
There we go.
Rest in peace.
Taylor.
It's your cold day in the sun. Looks like you're playing
beating heart, so many more. Like 500 stones, episode 16. Andrew could be not here, so Dylan and Jake are here instead. I don't know, I messed up. But yeah, episode number 16 of like 500 Stones. Andrew could not be here. It is past his bedtime, so he is in bed. So I think it's the Time Wizard. We're using Trivia Flashback, and I brought on Jake from the video store. How is it going, good sir? You're muted.
I just made a rookie mistake right there. Usually I don't make that mistake. Yeah, I woke up 30 minutes ago. I was enjoying my sleep in, and then I realized, oh yeah, I willingly agreed to do this, so I gotta, agree to be on.
Yeah, you guys definitely didn't get put into a Facebook messaging group, and then because we put you guys in the group, and Andrew was like, "Yeah, I haven't talked to either of these guys about actually being on the show." It's like, "Fuck, okay, we'll just pause it if you're pressuring them in." But also today we have Canadian Dylan Vanthuyne joining us from Saskatchewan. How's it going, good sir?
It's going good. I'm excited. I haven't really gotten a platform to talk about music, which I'm a big fan of, but yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, the platform for music has gotten smaller, I guess, as the community has lived on. It used to be pretty big. We used to fit about 6 people on there, but now it's only enough for 3 of us. But yeah, we're slowly creeping into the top 100. 125 to 101 are the songs covering, but the song that we had on the last show is Freedom 90, George Michael's big hit. Either of you guys have any thoughts on this song before we start off the list? I'll start off with Jake, I guess.
And I love this song. I love also the story behind why it's called Freedom 90, because the other guy, Wham, was that a song released in 1990 called Freedom. So he was like, I'll put 90 so everyone knows there's a difference. Yeah, I think it's a great song. I also love the music video. I believe Fincher directed the music video. Yeah, it's just a nice triumph of the song.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it might be a little long for my taste, but I do really enjoy the song quite a bit. I haven't seen the music video though, so I'll have to check that out because I like David Fincher.
Yeah, Fincher's got brought up. He got brought up a couple times last week. This video, and then he also did the one for Vogue for Madonna. So that was another one that got brought up. But as we move into the next section of the list, 125, Anarchy in the UK by Sex Pistols. I'll start off with this one. If it wasn't for Guitar Hero 3, this probably just get added into the mix of just like random kind of punk rock. Like it's obviously here for kind of like the not necessarily the innovation, but like the sound that it was really putting out. Johnny Rotten is considered one of the most iconic vocalists, I guess you would say, of this time frame. The guitar solo in this is really cool. I'm not sure if 125 is a little bit high for a song like this simple, and especially like a lot of songs that we've just covered in the past. But it's fair, I guess, for a song being from the 70s. Dylan, your thoughts?
Yeah, actually, I do agree that it might be a little high for this, but I do really enjoy this song. I love this era of punk music and just like how brash and like in your face it is. And yeah, it's Sex Pistols is not like my favorite punk band of this era. Like I'm more of a Dead Kennedys guy, but I do really, really appreciate this a lot.
Yeah, Jake.
Yeah, I'm a bit with Dylan. Sex Pistols isn't like a band I'm super familiar with. I think I'd heard the song before, but yeah, I like it. It's like the quintessential part of the punk era that was kind of going on during the UK at the time. How the music was kind of evolving. I think I think 125 is a bit high, but I think my only criticism with the song is that I think some of the vocals, it's just a little too distracting with the song. But I mean, it's a nice song regardless.
I can see that, and like when he's like, "I am an antichrist," and like just like how he kind of puts that like flange or kind of flare.
Yeah, I love that kind of. I love his unhinged delivery on this song. But
yeah. 124 is That'll Be the Day, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. I'll let Dylan start on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if people are like that into Buddy Holly in this community, so I don't know if this will be that big of a hot take. This song, it just felt like it ended before it even really started for me. Like it started to trail off, and I was like, wait, that's it? This is my first time hearing it, and it was like, I don't know. This isn't really like my style, I guess, this era. But it was fine. Like I think spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about a lot of great songs tonight, and I think this is probably on the weaker end of them. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately going to have to agree with you. This is just bland ass 50s rock. It doesn't really have like a climax or a crescendo. It's just kind of there. Yeah, Jake.
Is anyone in the community a big Buddy Holly fan?
I don't think so.
I can't think so. I can tell you right now, I'm not really a Buddy Holly fan. I'm like it's a different time. It's a different era. It's not really like music that I particularly listen to. The song has almost gone away from my memory. I've listened to, and I swear I listened to the whole list a few times over just to make sure. But this is one that's like slowly just like leaving my brain. For what I remember, it's like like what Dylan was saying. It is like it's like 2 minutes long, 2:30, something like that. It's a short song, but it feels like it doesn't really have it doesn't really have a moment to shine.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Yeah, like especially in the 50s and 60s, there wasn't really a lot of songs that really surpassed, I think, like 3.5 minutes. They were all kind of like singles, and they were more so trying to get on the radio because that was how they made the money.
One thing I will give it though is that it is catchy. I'll admit that. Like this was like because they kind of like hammer that'll be they kind of hammer that into your skull, and it kind of actually annoyed me after a while because I was like, fuck. Yeah.
As we move on to 123, Talking Heads. I feel bad for Andrew not being here because I know that he stands to Talking Heads quite a bit. But I know that you guys were also both brought on for your love of Talking Heads. We'll start off with Jake on this one.
The Talking Heads is one of my favorite bands ever. I think it's in my top 5 for sure. Weirdly enough, this is probably one of my least favorite Talking Head songs, which is nothing against the song. I think it's great. There are so many bangers and classics that I love more than this one. But this is also just great. I really love the melody of it. I really love David Byrne's lyrics and his vocals. I just it's just my favorite stuff to hear, to be honest, from Talking Heads. And yeah, I think the melody and the tone of it is like the best part of it. You don't really hear a song like that from 83.
Yeah. Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Talking Heads. I love this song a lot. This is like I don't understand how you can like put this song and like not feel happy. Like it's got like just a very like feel good like bounce to it. I love the instrumental, and just David Byrne as like a vocalist. I think even though like you can argue maybe he's not like, I don't know, maybe he doesn't have like one of the greatest singing voices of all time, but I think just how he uses it and how he like just his expressiveness is just so good. Like he completely owns every single song he's on, and just his lyrics are just beautiful. And yeah, I love this song so much.
I just heard this song for the first time for this list, and it's been one of the most repeated songs that I've thrown on. I love the bass line. I love how the keys are used in it. Because it initially kind of starts off as a loop, but then you have those like it's very kind of like woodwindy. I
thought it sounded like a flute or something.
Yeah, it sounds something like that. But like it starts off kind of loopy, like do 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 do. And then it kind of veers off, so it kind of gives it that little bit of differentiating. And then I've been very critical of David Byrne's vocals, but I think they work really well in this. I'd love to just be in a room with like 20 or 30 people and hearing these guys get in a pub or something. I feel like that's kind of the best environment for this. But yeah, if you haven't listened to Talking Heads before, I highly recommend you check it out now, especially this song. As we move on to 122, the impressions with People Get Ready. I'll start off with this one. I think it's there's nothing that really stands out about it, unfortunately. It's kind of surprising that this comes from Curtis Mayfield, because he has popped up here a couple of times with Move On Up and one other one. if there's a song on this list that this kind of reminds me of, it reminds me of Midnight Train to Georgia. But that was much earlier in the list. Like I think that was almost like in the late 400s. But yeah, other than that, it's just fine. Dylan.
I actually really love this song. I'm not super familiar with Curtis Mayfield stuff like as much as I should be. Like I love his soundtrack work for like movies like Superfly and stuff. But I think I just love this song. I love the I think my favorite part of it is like when the song comes in and like it here and there they would be like you hear like the humming in the background, which I think adds like a really great like emotional swell to it. And yeah, I just love the lyrics of it. And yeah, this is a really good song. I was surprised by how much I liked it.
Jake.
I do like the song. I really like the melody of it. I like how slow paced it is. It's got like a nice romantic feel to it. I don't really have much to say because I'm not really like super familiar with the impressions and Curtis Mayfield. I think it's a really nice song. It's good for the time, like quintessential of the era.
Yeah. All right, 121, and we're back to the Beatles, I guess, with Let It Be. I'll start with this one. I've been critical in that this is a Paul song and not necessarily a Beatles song. I've had to kind of bite my tongue on that because it's much better than I initially kind of put it. George Harrison has a really nice solo in it. Ringo doesn't have a ton of time to shine in this, but when he does, it is really, really good. And there's something very soothing and very like satisfying about that opening lyric. Like when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And like I used to think that was so like it's very cheesy and very pretentious, but it was just like, hey, sometimes you just gotta like relax and like just let things be. Like especially like everything that's happened in the last couple of years, even the last week or so. With the death of Taylor Hawkins, it's kind of been nice to go back to this song and just be like, you know what, things suck right now, but you just gotta let it be. Jake.
Now this is I'm gonna ask, how many Beatles songs at this point have you covered through now?
It's gotta be this is the fifth.
At least 10. This is fifth. Okay. Yeah. I guess there's gonna be more coming up, but this is like quintessential song you play at funerals. Like I've been to a couple and they play this song. It's a powerful song. I really like the lyrics. I think it's very like poetic in its lyrics, and I also love the way that the phrase "Let It Be" is repeated throughout the song.
Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely really love and appreciate the sentiment of the song. I'm just like, I guess the Beatles isn't really like my band. I guess like we're going to be talking about, spoiler alert, I guess. I don't know if you want me giving away songs that we're going to be talking about later, but this isn't my favorite of the songs that
we call it Canadian cheating here. We all listen to the songs, but not in like the particular order. So the order is new to us.
Yeah. I agree with this being ranked lower than the one we're going to talk about next because I like that one a bit more. This one I just think it suffers a little bit from overplay for me, just because like this is like this song gets played like all the time. So
I think if we are talking about overplayed Beatles songs, it's got to be "Hey Jude." Got to be the most overplayed.
Yeah, that gets played a lot.
Yeah. As we go into 120, and this is where X-Ray Specs comes up. I have takes on this, but I'm going to start off with Dylan, I guess.
The song's a lot. Like, I mean, I do like again the attitude of it and like just how in your face it is. Some aspects of it I feel like are a little too messy. I almost feel like they tried to jam as much stuff as they could into this song. Like, I don't know about the saxophone solo. It sounded I don't know, not the greatest to me, but yeah, it just, this is not one that I'll be coming back to out of this list, but yeah.
So this one wasn't on Spotify, so I just kind of gave it the one listen and gave some impressions off of that. And my initial one was this should have probably been on the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack. It has that very same kind of vibe. I'm surprised that this is a song from the 70s because it's aged. Like I will say, it has aged quite well. But yeah, Yeah, surprised that this has made it so high because I've never heard of X-Ray Specs before. But I'll be interested to kind of check out the rest of their work or whatnot. Jake.
Oh yeah, I had never heard of X-Ray Specs before listening to this song for the first time. Yeah, I kind of now knowing like when this song was released, it's kind of impressive how it doesn't sound like a song from '77. Like it's like the proto sort of punk-esque aesthetic that would happen during that during that era. It's messy in the way that has been a positive quality to punk music, and I think it like kind of shows where that era of music was kind of evolving and going into. I like it, but yeah, I don't know about 120.
Yeah, it just feels like such a random pick for this high on the list. Like,
As we move on to 119, it's all right. We go to a much more, I guess, well-known song. Marvin Gaye's "I Heard It Through the Grapevine." Jake, I'll start with you.
Weddings. I used to shoot weddings, and I would hear this. Weirdly enough, like just during the after party or that sort of stuff. Yeah, like it's a great song. It's hard to deny. It's not my favorite Marvin Gaye song, but it's like maybe his second most popular song. I think "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" probably would be one, right?
Yeah.
Probably,
that definitely be one. Yeah.
As far as popularity goes, but yeah, this is like one of the quintessential songs of the '60s, right?
Yeah. No, this is the third time I believe that Marvin Gaye has come up. But the sexual healing has come up. And Let's Get It On has also appeared. This song is shorter than it probably needs to be. I've kind of fallen in love with like 8-minute epics. So I initially compare this to CCR's cover of it, and they just turn that into like a 10-minute jam. And I kind of wish that Marvin would do the similar thing here. Kind of like give it like a different section, because I think it has that really, really good qualities. Like I can listen to him say "I heard it through the grapevine" like a million times. And the riff in this is very kind of like sultry and kind of has a sway to it. Very kind of like tense in that sense. But yeah, now I was kind of curious as to whether or not we would see Marvin Gaye appear. We'll probably see him again now that you mentioned "Ain't No Mountain High Enough," but I'd say he'll be kind of dwindling more and more as we see like the Beatles and like the Rolling Stones kind of pop up a little more. Dylan, your thoughts?
I mean, this is low-key kind of a weird song to be hearing at weddings when you think about the lyrics, but I mean, I do really love this song. I mean, Marvin Gaye just has like such an amazing voice. Like he's like, just listening to him sing, it's almost like hard to describe. It's like satisfying, like with the way he hits notes. I don't know. It's really weird, but yeah. I just absolutely loved like the melody of this song, the lyrics about like, the lover cheating on you basically is I think really well detailed, and just I think it's really great.
On to 118. And this is where we get into Creep and we get into Radiohead. I'm gonna start off with my hot-ish takes. I think this song is overplayed as fuck. Rock Band kind of killed this for me. And I'm probably even in terms of like appreciation, I'm probably a little too young for this. I know like Nazario and a lot of people in that crew kind of stand this song. And like Radiohead in general. The guitar solo in this is okay, but it's just, I think it's gotten too much of an association with just like with like emo rock, and like and it's like, oh, if I'm feeling this way, I'm immediately gonna throw on this song. Not even sure if I'd say it's my favorite Radiohead song. There's one that came up earlier, I think is a lot better. Karma. Yeah, I think Karma Police would be. I'd swap them personally if I was making the list. But yeah, Jake, your thoughts?
Early Radiohead isn't kind of my thing. I think just because the music, the way that also their music has evolved throughout the years, I kind of find interesting. I was never just the biggest like alternate rock punk sort of angst that was phase that was going on through the 90s with like Nirvana and all that. I think it was Pearl Jam or whatever. But yeah, I like the song. I prefer Kid A, that album. Just I prefer the sound of how that version of Radiohead. But I appreciate like the recognition and the influence that the song has had on music.
Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, Radiohead is one of my favorite bands ever, full disclosure. With that being said, this is way too fucking high. I know there's a lot of people that love this song. This is like one of my least favorite songs by them. It's easily from my least favorite Radiohead album, Pablo Honey. I just feel like for this to be like their like biggest hit is like really like frustrating to me, I guess. Like this is the one that everyone knows.
I mean, this is arguably their biggest hit.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah,
1,000%, yeah.
But it's like if there's nothing from like In Rainbows on here, which is my favorite Radiohead album, I'm gonna be very upset. Even like I feel like from their newer stuff, I feel like Burn the Witch is like way better than this, and there's just so many more interesting picks than you can go with than Creep. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to 117. Some kind of notes here. We go to Aretha, and I say a little prayer. Oh wow, that's actually kind of a surprise. Bacharach, if anybody is playing like 500 Stones video,
Really?
never would have guessed that they collaborated on the song. This is a cool one. I really like it. Not necessarily my favorite Aretha song, but I love the chorus and kind of how they're able to kind of give this like hustle and bustle sort of feel, but the instrumentation doesn't really take over. Like everything's kind of mixed really well. And yeah, other than that, like I think 117 might be the right spot. I am going to look up where it was last time on the list because I imagine that it was there. But Jake, your thoughts?
I like the song. I think it's weird because I feel like I've heard this song through like ads and like movies and all that sort of stuff. In maybe covers of it more than I've heard the original. I Say a Little Prayer, because it's one of those songs that's kind of like just become a part of pop culture because I hear it all the time through pop culture and all that. I think it's great. I think it's one of the most like recognizable choruses ever. Like, if I'm being honest, especially at the time. I actually didn't know Burt Bacharach was part of it, and that's actually kind of surprising and cool. But yeah, I think this is definitely one of Aretha's best songs.
Dylan.
Yeah, this is an amazing song. I mean, Aretha Franklin's just an absolute legend. Like her voice is just amazing on this song. And I actually reading the little synopsis on here with Rolling Stone, I low-key did not know that it was about a woman yearning for a partner who's been shipped off to Vietnam, which now actually I'm really interested in going back and listening to it with that mindset. But yeah, this is just a beautiful song, and like I love the backing vocals. I think it really like ties everything together. So yeah.
Nice. I wasn't able to figure out where it was on the list. Andrew must have sacrificed a goat every time that he does these shows to kind of get the accurate numbers. But as we move on to 116, the 80s bop. It Takes Two, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. Jake, your thoughts?
It's crazy. We just went from Aretha Franklin to like 80s hip hop. It's crazy. I love it. Yeah, this is classic sort of stuff that you hear when you're a teenager, right? Like just It Takes Two. It's a classic. It's got a classic beat. I don't know how they actually did the song, but like just for the time, it's just like just funky and just great. Yeah.
Yeah. Dylan.
So hip hop is like probably my favorite genre of music. It's at least the one that I know the most about. This era though is like very hit or miss for me, and unfortunately, this song is just a little too much cheese. I feel like for me from this time, it's like I respect it a lot, obviously, for like paving the way for a lot of like artists down the line, but it's like, to me, thinking about like this era, like I would much prefer to listen to like Rakim or NWA or even like why can't I remember the names of any of the? Never mind. But yeah, I love Public Enemy. That's what I was trying to think of. But it's mind blowing to me thinking that was like that music was around the same time as this, where it's like this is like super corny and all that's like very straight faced, like serious, like street rap pretty much. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of this. But I'm assuming it's probably better than the Lil Yachty version with Charlie XCX. So.
Oh, did not know that was a thing. But I
Target put it together.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah. To initially compare this to some hip hop songs that have come up recently, I think this is where I think Paid in Full is better than this song. I think Fuck the Police is better than this, Straight Outta Compton. But I think what puts it up here so high is the mix. And just how catchy that is, and I think that was really kind of a testament to what was going on previously, like in the early 80s and the 70s, where it was about creating that beat and getting people out to dance and whatnot, because it was very much like a club era at that time. I think the chorus in this is one of the most recognizable. Like, people don't recognize the entire song, but as soon as you say "it takes two to make a thing go right," everybody responds. It takes two to make it out of sight. And then you have I think the song gets heavily sampled as well. I think will.i.am sampled a bit of it, especially the "I Wanna Rock Right Now."
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you, Dylan, and that it is super cheesy. Definitely a little bit high. I could see this next time around probably in the higher 200s.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I do really like the beat, though. I will say that. I forgot to mention that the bass line
very recognizable. Yeah.
So we move on to 115. Another kind of overplayed song. Unfortunately, I think a lot of commercials have kind of helped with it. You see a lot of those, if there's any time where it's somebody kind of happy or relieved for seeing something, this song often comes up. Where the first I've heard the first 15 seconds of the song a million times. At last my love has come along, my lonely days are over. And I think it's a disservice to Etta James, because she is one of the best vocalists ever. Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, I echo everything you just said. This is a song that's played a lot. Just like the Aretha Franklin song. It's just, I hear it. I can picture ads in its sort of structure, and then just that "at last." I'm just yeah, you're promoting some sort of coffee or something, or it's kind of it's one of those where that's transcended and become part of pop culture.
The new 2022 Ford Focus.
Yeah, this song's good. I mean, I'm not head over heels for it. Maybe the overplay does affect it a bit. But yeah, amazing vocals. I'll say that. It's just the instrumental didn't really do much for me. It kind of got a little repetitive, I guess. But yeah, it's not my favorite of what we're talking about today.
Yeah. As we move on to 114, with Toxic. Jake, I'm gonna let you start with this one.
Flashback to when I was 5 years old and listening to Aqua and Britney Spears and all those bands from the early 2000s I just love. This is one of the classic songs of the 2000s. This is not my favorite Britney Spears song, but I love this album. And I love because I'm trying to remember. I think it says in the thing, but she used just it was a song from India, the
that makes sense
for the song. I'm a big fan of sampling, and I like seeing how unique and creatively you can do that in music. And also shout out the movie Promising Young Woman for using it as part of its score, which is kind of a cool little thing. But yeah, this is classic, and also music video. It's perfect.
Yeah. Dylan.
Yeah, this song's great, and I'm not even a fan of Britney Spears or this type of music, but I feel the song's just kind of undeniable. I loved the very almost blocky sounding percussion of it, and just the beat is so crazy. I feel the string sample just paints it's almost unsettling and sinister sounding, which I feel paints a good soundscape for this song, basically detailing a very toxic relationship, and I think it really, really works.
Yeah. Whenever I first got sent, or whenever this list first came out, this was the one that initially kind of caught me off guard. And like, oh wow, this song is that high, because I never really thought of like this song as like an all time great. I think if we're talking about Britney Spears songs, I initially go to like I'm a slave for you. Oop, I did it again. I know we already talked about it, but hit me maybe one more time. Her cover of My Prerogative as well is also incredible. But I think what puts it on here is that really kind of like bold production style. And like Jake was talking about like the strings. And I just like the layering in the chorus as well. It's like, with the taste of your lips, I'm on the way. You're toxic, I'm slipping under. But then there's times like at the end of the song where it's like she just slips in like, oh, you know that toxic in between. And I think that's just a really cool way of coming off of like, we're not really coming off of just having that kind of that attitude and flair. Because this would have been coming off of like that bubblegum poppy sort of phase. And like everybody, and like Miley Cyrus went through a similar phase. Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, they'll have that.
It's like a maturity thing. I don't know what it is, but yeah, you definitely said that with female pop singers, where like, and this is my favorite Britney Spears. I love In the Zone, and every time that's like.
Oh man, I forgot about it. Into the Zone. Oh
yeah,
man.
And it's just like they just become more mature, not just like as people, but the sound that they start to like experiment with. And I think this is a magnum opus.
Yeah. As we move on to 113, Higher Ground by Stevie Wonder. I'm gonna start off with this one. I think this is a fucking bop. Love this song. I know initially when I threw this on, I was like, oh, it's not as good as the Red Hot Chili Peppers cover, and I was proven wrong gladly, because I think they do a fine version of it, but you can't match like the tone of it, especially when you get into that like pre-chorusy section, and something just sounds like a little bit off, and it's that culmination of jazz and funk that Stevie has really mastered. The bass line is super wet. And all he needs to say is Higher Ground, and it's just kind of has that strut to it, and I love songs that kind of have that kind of keep up that pace. Dylan.
Yeah, this song's amazing. Like, this is when this came on in the playlist, I was like immediately just started like popping and grooving, because this is like I feel like the most danceable like instrumentals ever. Like, just the bounce and almost like the pluckiness sounding of it. It's just so much fun. Like, and I will say, if you're a fan of this type of music, I want to give a shout out to, there's an artist now called Thundercat who does a very similar style of this music, and his music is like amazing. So check it out.
This feels like this might be a weird comparison, but it feels like it's come from the same cloth as Superstition, in kind of like the tone and the feel of it. Like, because I'd always confused the two when I was younger. I love Stevie Wonder. I love his music. I think he's like incredibly talented. I just love how upbeat the song is, and how it's just like, it's an unconventional sound, but it like works for the song itself. And I think that feeling that is great.
Yeah. As we move into 112, halfway section of this list, as we go into REM, Losing My Religion. I'm going to start off with this one. This is one of my favorite songs to play ever. So there's this period of time where I would get like I was expanding my knowledge, I guess, with like stringed instruments. So like I played like guitar and bass, but I'd pick up like mandolin and like band guitar and a bunch of like weird ones. When I picked up mandolin, this is the first song that I learned to play. I think it's just one of the more effective uses of it. Really isn't used, with the exception of like Rod Stewart. Doesn't really use it in that sense. REM has interesting lyrics. I love the third verse in this especially. It's like, brought me to my knees, failed. What if all these fantasies come flailing around? But now I said too much. I thought that, and then like you get into the chorus, so, like I thought that I heard you laughing, I thought that I heard you scream. I think I thought I saw you cry, and it's just like I love that, and then they do some really good jobs of like building tension. Went into like that was just a dream. You have some like really nice strings come in. This is my favorite song, but I don't necessarily think it's their best song. I think I lean towards Shiny Happy People just because of like how favorite. Yeah, because of how twisted it is, and everybody thinks like, man, like that song gets used on Sesame Street, and it's like, no, that song should not be on Sesame Street. But Jake, your thoughts?
I love REM. Yeah, I love Out of Time, the album. It's my favorite REM album. It's definitely one of my favorite albums for sure. Yeah, I love Losing My Religion. I think it's a great song. It's definitely one of the most quintessential REM songs. I think this and Everybody Hurts, and it's End of the World for sure, like the three big REM songs. This might be the most popular one. I think it's great. I love the vocals. Who's the lead? I can't even remember the lead singer. Michael Mills, is it?
Yeah, Michael Mills.
I think his vocals is like really unique and works for the sound that REM always try to go for. And also just shout out the music video. I think it's a great music video. Directed by Tarsem Singh, who did The Cell with Jennifer Lopez and Selfless, the Ryan Reynolds, Ben Kingsley movie. Just want to shout that out.
Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ones that I feel like is going to be toughest for me to talk about, just because I don't know a whole lot about REM. First of all, it's kind of like a blind spot with me and my music taste, and this is not like my style, I guess, of rock music, but I completely understand why it's here. But yeah, this is just not really my cup of tea. But for what it is, I think it's pretty well done.
Jake, you're talking about end of the world. I highly recommend checking out. There's a cover of it done by Great Big Sea. They're like a Newfoundland folk band, and they make the song even faster. And then it's like it's done. It's done flawlessly. Yeah. Alan Doyle is an incredible vocalist. As we go into 111, probably one of my favorite numbers of this, and we're talking about Bruce Springsteen, and I really wish Andrew was here because
he will be in a second.
Probably. Yeah, I'm gonna get my thoughts out of the way out of this. I fucking hate this song. I think it sounds very similar to Born to Run. Instrumentally, kind of the same as that similar kind of sax solo. It's just fair. Dylan.
Yeah, so before we started, Andrew sent me a message asking if he could play a voice memo just before, just when we get to this song. So I'm going to play that right now. This is from Andrew.
All right, Brooklyn, I know you're trashing Thunder Road while I'm not here, especially since that we don't have an American on the panel this time. But listen here, Brooklyn, you Velveeta top pile of poutine. Thunder Road is one of the greatest songs ever made. The imagery is beautiful and so reminiscent of America. The instrumentation and the production is incredible. It is a burst of energy. It is an impressive explosion of emotions. And Bruce Springsteen, yeah, he may not be the greatest singer of all time, but that man is swailing his freaking heart out, and he is selling it. This is one of the greatest songs of all time. Don't you fool me, Brooklyn Vale. Don't you play this game. I know you're talking trash. All right, have a fun time, guys.
All right, so with that being said, fuck America, this song sucks. No, I'm just kidding. This song's good. I appreciate it. I mean, it's like the biggest problem that I have with this song for me is like when I listen to this, the first thing I thought of was like, what does this reminding me of? And then I realized that it was Meatloaf. And then I couldn't really get that comparison out of my head because this sounds like to me a lot like a Meatloaf song. And credit where credit is due, Bruce Springsteen was actually the one who inspired Meatloaf from the little amount of research that I did. But for me, I'm way much more of a fan of Meatloaf. So because Bad Out of Hell was already on the list, wasn't it?
So there's been no Meatloaf at all.
Really?
No.
Okay, well
I'm
then
sure
if,
that's gonna be the one.
I hope
for sure.
he's higher because I enjoy Meatloaf more than this. But for what it is, I think this is a really good song, and I appreciate it for influencing stuff that I like more of down the line.
So to briefly talk about Meatloaf for a second, Meatloaf is nowhere on this list at all. Because I wanted to, because whenever Meatloaf passed away earlier this year, I wanted to do a similar thing that we were doing for Taylor Hawkins this week, and I was going through and I was like, yeah, nothing out of there. No Bad Out of Hell, no 2 out of 3 ain't bad. No Hot Summer Nights. Jake.
Wow.
I was gonna literally bring up the fact that I just like Meatloaf more than Bruce Springsteen. This song weirdly, like vaguely, sounds a lot like Bad Out of Hell. And I don't know if that's just me because I've listened to Bad Out of Hell so many times. So when I hear something that's vaguely similar, I'm like, it sounds a bit. Not even though that was after this, but I've never really been big Bruce Springsteen. I'm more of a fan when he walks the streets of Philadelphia, but that's just me. I just don't really get much from Bruce Springsteen. I think Meatloaf is just the superior version, so I just listen to him more.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. Don't kick me out of my faction.
I love to see like I'm on Fire on here, or even like Dancing in the Dark. I think is a really good Bruce Springsteen song, but I think this one just kind of gets lumped in there, similar to like Neil Young's with oh man, what was the song that we were talking about that Cody hates? Oh man, it's on Harvest Moon, but it's off the record Harvest Moon.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
What a friend I've been in the 19th. I'll figure it out here eventually. As we go to 110, and we got Something by the Beatles. Dylan, I'll let you go first because I know you had kind of referenced this song earlier.
Yeah, I really like this song a lot. I mean, I love like almost the laid back feel of it, but then like as it progresses and as it just starts to build more and more, I just really enjoyed it. And like, I don't know, I really like how to me this feels like an actual Beatles song, not like a Paul song or like any one person was like overpowering the others. I feel like this is like quintessential just Beatles. So I like this a lot.
Jake.
I'm not super familiar with this one, and I don't know if that's just because it's like I don't know if that is if that's just a thing that's a me thing or if I just a whatever thing. But how many like of the big Beatles songs were written by George Harrison?
I think this is the first George one that has popped up. We haven't seen like While My Guitar Gently Weeps, or we haven't seen like Do You Want to Know a Secret?
That's what I was thinking, man, because I was like looking at it and just the little bit that I read was that this is a George Harrison song that he wrote. And I was just like, it's always Lennon McCarthy. So when it's not one of those two writing a Beatles song, it always like kind of piques my interest. This is not one that I was like super familiar with to begin with, but it is like a nice sound to it, and it kind of like shows where the Beatles were like at the tail end of their career as the Beatles.
Yeah. This selection or this placement rather kind of redeems the list because I've been waiting for a moment after they put on the Birds cover of Mr. Tambourine Man. I was like, okay, you guys are on something. And then when they put Something over Let It Be, I was like, all right, list, you're doing something right. You're doing something right again. Because I think Let It Be is a lot of people's like number one Beatles song, but I think they're right. This is a better one. I think the movie that helped me fall in love with the song is Perks of Being a Wallflower. This is a song that he gets like on record or whatever. But when we were talking about like what turns this into a Beatles song, I think is the pre-chorus. And you just have Ringo coming in with like those booming drums. The strings come in, and just that dichotomy of like very loud, very very tense, and then it's released right away as you go back into the verses. And it's very tender, and it's like kind of like I've talked about it before how it's in this song. It sounds like George is like admiring somebody from the distance. and it's very kind of like window shoppy. In that sense, as we move on to 109, Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. Dylan, I'll start off with you.
Yeah, this is a band that I really need to do a deep dive in because I was first introduced to them through when the trailer for Inherent Vice came out, and they played one of their songs in that, which I can't remember. I think it's like Take You Higher or something like that is what it's called. That's my favorite from what I've heard from Sly and the Family Stone. And this song is great too. I mean, I love like the cowbell that is played throughout the song. I think it really like ties it together. Whenever a song has like a really well used and utilized cowbell, I think it just adds a whole other flavor to like the song, which I appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
And
there's
sorry,
I was to say that there's only great songs use cowbell. It's kind of a break glass in case of emergency. But I love the catchiness to this. Like the horns in this work really well. It's very like resolving or whatever. And just kind of like the little references, I guess, like especially like looking at it nowadays, like get like the different strokes for different folks. I think that's one of the most used like idioms, I guess, or whatever. And then like did they get because they have like the different strokes for different folks, and then it's like something else, and then like they get into like Scooby Dooby Doo, and then it was kind of like a shower thought. It's like, did they get the name for Scooby Doo from this song? I don't think the timelines match up quite as well.
Yeah. I like the song. I will always there's this being covered by Arrested Development back when they did this People Every Day in the 90s, which is one of my favorite songs by Arrested Development. Yeah, it's a great song, and it's just like classic 60s soul of that era, and I appreciate the song a lot.
Yeah. As we move on to 108, The Cure, Just Like Heaven. I'm gonna let Jake start off with this one because I admittedly need to listen to it again.
This is in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I fucking love this song. I love The Cure. This is my favorite song by The Cure. This is in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I just love the energy and the feel of this song. The guitar riff at the beginning and the way it kind of leads into the rest of the song. I've always been a fan of The Cure, and I just also the title of a movie with Reese Witherspoon and Mark Ruffalo that I really like in the 2000s. But yeah, this is just really like romanticized, sort of operatic, and I really love this song. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs ever. It's perfect, and I think the music video is also really beautiful, and it's a story of longing for love and love lost, and I think it's yeah.
Dylan.
Yeah, this song's great. I mean, I just really love the groove to it, and just like what's the name of the front man again?
Robert Smith.
Yeah, I think his vocals on this are just like really, really great, and his performance, like the hook, especially once it gets there, is like just like really, really great. And yeah, this is one that's like I've heard a lot, but this one doesn't. I don't get tired of this one, so I enjoy this one quite a bit.
So yeah, I don't have the same sort of attachment to The Cure that I probably should. These guys definitely got killed with like 80s and 8 mixes. I would hear this like every Saturday morning or something similar to this song. I'd like to go back to it, but like of the songs that we were talking about today, I think this one is just kind of fine. But I appreciate those like people that love The Cure. Because I know like Jake and like Luca was a big Cure fan. As we move on to 107,
I was just gonna quickly add that it's also one of my go-to karaoke songs. Like if Just Like Heaven is an option, I will always get listen karaoke.
Nice. As we move on to 107, going from The Cure to Wu-Tang Clan, they ain't nothing to fuck with cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bills, y'all. I'll go to Dylan first. You mentioned that hip hop's your favorite genre, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Wu-Tang.
I completely forgot to wear my Wu-Tang hoodie. This is like one of my favorite songs of all time. I mean, just the beat from RZA, I feel like it's so iconic at this point, and for good reason. Like it's such a great like sample flip, which I think is it's like a great loop that goes throughout the song. And I mean, I know Raekwon gets like most of the attention for having like the first verse on here, and that's the one that like everyone knows. Like, I grew up on the crime side, the New York Times side. Staying alive is no job, and that's the one everyone knows word for word. But I feel like the unsung hero of like this song is Inspector Deck, and of Wu-Tang in general. Like, he doesn't get enough credit. I feel like as a lyricist, I think he's actually one of the strongest in the clan. Like, if you haven't heard the song Triumph, his verse on that is like, in my opinion, one of the best hip hop verses like ever. So, and this song is just an absolute banger. So I love it.
I love Wu-Tang is I have a soft I kind of have a soft spot for them. I haven't listened to them a ton, but like our poker crew or whatever, there was a lot of guys that were big into them, so I kind of had to do a deep dive. I think what Wu-Tang does a really good job of in terms of their beat making, they have that like they've mastered that East Coast kind of sound, like very like piano heavy, very jazzy. It's not as like poppy. So there's a little more like emotion that you could put into it. This isn't my favorite Wu-Tang song. I personally love The Mystery of Chess Boxing. I just love the energy that song kind of has. And if there's one thing that we need everybody to know, that Wu-Tang is for the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. Jake.
I really love how melodic this song is, because it feels like I love, like as I said, I love sampling, and I love how they took a song from, I think it's the 60s, right? I can't remember the specific song it is, but they took something that was very like elevated music of the time and turned it into a song without losing that sort of personality, while still being able to do what Wu-Tang like do with their style and their music. It's one of those just great hip hop songs of the 90s, quintessential, I would say, of the era. And I think that's why I like more the East Coast stuff than the West Coast, is I love how piano driven their music is. And I think I'm just more of a fan of piano driven stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. As we move on to 106, as we go back to my little sub list of just overrated, I guess, Rolling Stones songs. It's Everything for the Devil. I'll let Jake. I'll let Jake start off with this one.
I'm kind of with you. Not my favorite Rolling Stone songs. I think I also just like, this is a nitpick and a pet peeve, and it has nothing to do with the song, but I just hate when the song is played in movies and it's like the most obvious pandering, stupid way that they could ever use the song.
Suicide Squad,
and then Corella recently used it, and I'm just it's not why. It's a fine song. I just prefer like Painted Black's my all-time favorite Rolling Stone song. Gimme Shelter. Like, there's so many classics that they have, but it's one of my least favorites that they've done. And it's just like, I don't feel really bad, but it's like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I would argue that Gimme Shelter is the most like pandering Rolling Stone song. Like, I hear that in so many fucking soundtracks, and it's like it's borderline like Fortunate Son levels of like, oh, we're in Vietnam, throw in Gimme Shelter. But I know Andrew has been vocal in terms of like lyrics, like opening lyrics that grab you, and I do think that this song has one of the better ones. Like, please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I do think the piano in this kind of is worked really well. Like, there is some really cool instrumentation with like the bongos or whatever. The guitar solo in this is kind of forgettable, but I'm just gonna say the same thing that I have in the past. I think "Miss You" is their best song, and I really hope that "Miss You" comes up here. Dylan.
So "Gimme Shelter" is actually my favorite Rolling Stones song. I don't care how much it gets spammed by movies, but I do really appreciate it and like it a lot. But I mean, this song I think is mostly really, really good. I hate the guitar solo. Like, I was listening to this song on my headphones, and like what's that? It's like that guitar solo is like so like loud and screeching that like when it came on, it like caught me off guard and almost like cracked my skull in half. Maybe I was listening to it too loudly, but and even when the guitars come back later and it's like dee-doo-doo, it like catches me off guard. I'm like, it's like, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is mostly a pretty good song, though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
As you move on to 105, go to David Bowie with Life on Mars. Jake, I'm going to save you last for this one because I know how much of a David Bowie stan you are. Dylan, your thoughts?
Fantastic. Like, this song is like, there are a few songs that I feel like feel this like grand and cinematic. Like, it completely makes sense why. I've been talking about Paul. This is the second time I brought up Paul Thomas Anderson movie, but I could see why he would use it in Licorice Pizza, because it really just has like, even the lyrics of like, I guess like tie into a lot of the stuff in the movie. But I enjoy it like just the entire parts of the song. It goes in like a lot of different like digressions instrumentally. I feel like, which sounds like it could be a bad thing, but every time it's like. There's so many different parts to the song, which isn't even like that long, but they all like come together and do like this almost beautiful kind of mess that I like love a lot. So this is a great song.
This is like probably the third or fourth time that David Bowie's popped up. Space Oddity, and Young American, and Changes as well has popped up. But this is like. Even when we're talking about Space Odyssey, I think this does a better job in like setting like the atmosphere and like the overall kind of grandeur of it. Some really nice piano work. My favorite lyrics in this, or my favorite part of this song, is the like sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at how those cavemen go. It's a freak. Yeah, it's the freakiest show, and just kind of like, and he's giving his last bit of emotion, especially like it's a freakiest show. But yeah, this is one of the more interesting eras of David. Like it's like Ziggy Stardust, I guess this would technically still be. But Jake, your thoughts on this song?
Bowie's one of my all-time favorite artists. I love pretty much everything he does, I should say at this point. I love how surreal the lyrics are, because there is a story in the lyrics, but they're so like abstract and surreal in what like. How he describes everything. And it's just like, it's great. It's about a girl going to the movies to escape life and surreal shit happens. Like it's great. It's cinematic. And I don't know if that's just because I love film that I get a kick out of this song for how cinematic it is, but it's my favorite Bowie song. It's in my top 10 favorite songs of all time. I just love how emotional I get when I listen to it and how it makes me feel. And it's just, it's a perfect song for me.
Yeah. As we move on, excuse me, to 104, going from David Bowie to Jackson 5 with "I Want You Back." I'm going to start off with this one. I've been vocal in the past about like bass lines, and I kind of I've been repeating it quite a bit, but I will stand on this hill. This is one of the best bass lines ever in music. Just one of the great examples of really good layering. It has some really nice movement, and there's some like really technical work in there, and just how they're able to kind of keep that momentum. I love when the song gets covered, like especially like by acoustic duos and whatnot. This is another one that is in the realm, not quite in like Sympathy for the Devil, in terms of like overuse in soundtracks, but it is getting there. But I think this is like, when you think of like Young Michael, this is probably the first song that you go to, or maybe like I'll Be There is the other one. But like, especially get to the chorus of like, "Oh baby, give me one more chance," and you have the back, and then you have the rest of them come in, and it's just, it has an energy, and it's hard to listen to the song and not be happy afterwards. Jake.
I remember dancing, performing to the song when I was in like second grade or something like that. So I always like remember that moment from my childhood. I always connect that moment from my childhood with the song and how I first heard it. it's the first big song by Jackson 5. It's probably the second most popular song. I think ABC is like that one. But I Want You Back is probably my favorite of early Michael Jackson. Like pre, I guess what was the album before he did Thriller? Off the Wall.
Off the Wall was his first solo.
Anything pre Off the Wall, this is probably his best song. And yeah, it's classic Motown.
Yeah, if we're talking about that weird transition of like from the Jackson 5 into Michael Jackson, I think there is a underlooked record in there because there's a time where they were like the Jacksons. And he was quite like a teenager. And if there's a song you should check out from that, it's Blame It on the Boogie, because I think that has that same kind of energy as I Want You Back. Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I like this song quite a bit. I mean, the instrumental is just fantastic. The bass line, I could get behind it being one of the best bass lines ever. Like, yeah, it's just got such a great groove to it. I mean, I feel like if I were making a list of like the best songs of all time, I don't know if I would include it, but if I was making a list of like the catchiest, like this would probably be on there, because this one is like, it's one of like the most catchiest melodies I feel like ever, and just the lyrics are really well done, and yeah, Michael Jackson's performance on the song is just really great. So yeah, it's kind of an undeniable song.
I don't know. Like now that you guys brought up ABC, I kind of want to put that here instead of I Want You Back, because I think I Want You Back is better musically, but I think ABC does a better job like lyrically, and I think the music fits it better, or has like serves maybe like a better purpose. But as we move on to 103. Man, we have done a really good job of just curating people for this list. Oh man, I'm gonna let Jake start off with this one. The one episode of Wham that we did, I believe, was with this album.
Jagged Little Pill. I've been pretty vocal about Alanis Morissette. She's one of my favorite artists. I love Jagged Little Pill. It's my second favorite album of all time. I really love the transition for Alanis. Like the two albums she did before this were only released in Canada, and they're very bubblegum pop, the kind of aesthetic that she had started off with. And then Jagged Little Pill just completely transitions into the punk angst teen that we kind of are super familiar with now with Alanis. And this isn't my favorite from the album. This is one of the best though. This is her most notable defining song. It is the most iconic, and it's like it just makes me so happy when I hear songs like this, and it gets you into that feeling, that emotional feeling that is just so powerful. And I think a reason why I also love this song is its inclusion in Booksmart. I remember watching the movie the first time back in 2019, and then when the song played, and I was like just getting into Alanis, like really getting into Alanis at that point, and so everything kind of connected, and I think this is the best of the album, easily.
Dylan.
Yeah, this is an amazing song. I mean, this is like, the thing that I'm most enamored with it is just like her performance, like on this song. Like there's so much like anger and like, I guess like spite that she has in her voice towards this person as she goes into like really like explicit, almost uncomfortable detail of this guy. It almost feels like it's almost like uncomfortable, like when it's like it almost gives you the feeling of like you're in a restaurant and you like hear a couple like arguing really loudly down the line, and you're hearing a lot of personal stuff being thrown out that you're just trying to eat your dinner, and it's like you're feeling very uncomfortable. But it's like, yeah, her performance on this song is just amazing, and I think I really like the bass line on this as well. This is a great song.
I was worried somebody was going to mention the bass line. I will say, okay, I do love this. I do love this song. Like as a Canadian, we have to stand Alanis.
You have to stand on.
Yeah. If there's anything, I wish we had the banners up, because Jake's name is Alanis Stan number 6814. But we're talking about the lyrics. I love because you're talking about it has an argumentative sort of feel. It's not fair to deny me of the cross-eyed bear that you gave to me. You ought to know. And how much emotion that he's able to kind of pack into that. if we're talking favorite songs from the album, I think "See Right Through You" is my favorite. It has a very like Foo Fighters-esque sort of feel to it, and funny that we're talking because this episode is dedicated to Taylor Hawkins. He actually started out as a drummer for this band
During the world tour, yeah.
Yeah, so you have like his sound, I think, kind of carried with him. You mentioned the bass line, and this is where I'm going to be really nitpicky. This is Flea's worst bass line. It's very overmixed, and like it's very fuzzy and kind of like sludgy in a way. I wish it was like brought down like volume wise, because like I understand that they were going for like that like grungy and like empty sort of sound, and that was kind of the thing to do. But I think in terms of like aging and going back to it now, it's my least favorite part of it. Everything else is great, but yeah, I wish you kind of tone it down just a touch. As we go into 102, Maybelline, Chuck Berry. I'll start off with this one. I've been vocal in the past of how much I think Elvis Presley is overrated, and I think this is one of the songs that proves that Elvis Presley is overrated, because this is a fucking bomb. Just the energy that the song has, like Maybelline, Why Can't You Be True? I think Chuck Berry is like a really cool guitarist. 102 might be like a little bit high of just even like in the section of all the songs that we're talking about. But I think it's held up pretty well for a song being from the 50s. Dylan.
Yeah, this is a really good song. I mean, this is, again, like I said with Buddy Holly, this is not an era that I really listened to all that often in the 50s. But, you know, I really enjoy it. I like it's just very chugging, like, groove to it. It has a very, like, forward movement, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But I like this song a lot. It's not one I have, like, a whole lot of interesting things to say about, but it is really good for what it is, I feel like.
And Jake.
Yeah, I kind of know what you mean, Dylan, but like that forward kind of movement that the song has, where it's just just got a good beat to it. It's just like that kind of. I really love. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like we were talking about with Buddy Holly. It's not an era of music that I personally am a fan of, but I do respect and like appreciate like kind of the legacy that it has. I think the movie's. I think the song. I'm too much of a movie mind. I think the song's really good. It's good. It's weirdly I hadn't heard it till we will do it for this list, but it's a good song. I really like the energy, the beat of it. It's timeless.
All right, we go to our last song of the section. The last song before we go into the top 100s. Go to Yeah Yeah Yeahs with Maps. I'm gonna let Jake start with this one.
I don't know. I have to start with me. This is I know Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I like the later stuff. The Heads Will Roll is like I love that song so much.
Yeah.
The remix specifically is great, but I wasn't like super familiar with like anything pre that, so to hear this one was just like, that's interesting, because it's very different from what they like do now. I like Karen O a lot as a singer, as a musician. She did a song for the movie Her, which got an Oscar nod. Great song. But yeah, it's that kind of like alternative sort of sound that you really became popular in the early 2000s, and this is like one that kind of is like a microcosm of that time. And I think I appreciate it more than I like it. But then again, like this is the first time I was hearing it was for this list, but it's interesting. I think it's my biggest problem though is I do not think it's 101 on this list. I think that's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, even in the section of this list alone, to put this as the best, I think is a bit of a yikes take. I had to throw it on for a second, just to kind of remind myself. But it reminds me of like an indie film, and like a character is processing things, and then you would throw on this song, and it just kind of has that like low vibe sort of energy. It's like not quite Zachcore, but it's getting towards Zachcore. But yeah, it's just fair, like just middle of the road. like there might be some more like lyrical kind of sentiment to it that has some more meaning to it, but other than that, it's just fine. Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, this was the one that I had to listen to the most in preparation for this because it just kept like slipping my mind. Like, how does that song go again? But I mean, I think interesting is a good word for it. I do like the way it starts off with like the guitar riff and then the drums come in. It's yeah, I mean, it's just ultimately it's not something that I would come back to all that often, but that's just me.
All right. But yeah, that is the list for this week. Next Monday we'll be getting into the top 100. We're on the home stretch. But yeah, as we're gonna end the show as we do every time. We're gonna pick our favorite song from this section. Andrew did send me his, and he would have picked "I Heard It Through the Grapevine" Marvin Gaye. I think that's an absolutely fair choice. Jake, what would you pick?
That's tough. I have like 3 favorite songs ever are in these is in this list. I mean, it's probably Life on Mars. That's like that may be top 5 favorite songs ever. Probably Life on Mars, but also just shout out You Ought to Know and Just Like Heaven, because those two, Just Like Heaven is in my top 10. I don't know I think You Ought to Know is definitely top 20, top 30, but I love those 3 songs so much. Those are quintessential karaoke songs for me.
Yeah. Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, this was really tough because there's a lot of songs in here that I really love. I mean, Something was very close. Life on Mars was very close. Ultimately, I do have to go with Cash Rules Everything Around Me, Cream, Get the Money, Dollar Dollar Bills, Y'all, just because that's an absolute classic in my mind, and just it's the one that I listen to the most easily out of all the songs here.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably stay simple or kind of take the basic take, but I think Something needs to be in the top 100, which is crazy because like it should, like when we started this, top 100 seems so far away, but that's literally next week. Like this would have got bumped up like 15 or 20 songs. But yeah, I want to thank Dylan and Jake for both being here. But yeah, like we talked about, episode 17 next week, we crack into the top 100. Cheers, guys. Keep on rocking. And as always, drive safely.